Today, we're diving into a story that starts like a fairy tale but ends, well, somewhere completely different. We're talking about Del Mar, California, a super wealthy community known for its horse ranches and high society. But behind the gates of one multi-million-dollar estate, that fairy tale was curdling into a full-blown nightmare of assault, arson, and a shocking plot to commit murder. And that really is the heart of this whole thing, isn't it? How does a life that from the outside looks absolutely perfect, we're talking a $5 million home, prized horses, basically unlimited money, how does that life end with a police sting at a local Starbucks? What could possibly push a couple like this into a spiral so chaotic that it ends with one of them allegedly trying to hire a hitman? So picture this. It's August 2nd, 2023, at a Starbucks in Solana Beach. Tatiana Remley, dressed down in a tank top and shorts, sits down for a meeting. But, she wasn't there to grab a latte. She was allegedly there to negotiate the murder of her husband, Mark Remley. Yeah, but here's a twist. The whole meeting was a setup. The guy Tatiana was talking to, he was an undercover detective, and their entire conversation was being recorded. Police say she offered him a cool $2 million for the hit. She even got into the gritty details of how she wanted the body disposed of. And to show she meant business, she didn't just bring cash for a down payment. She brought 3 loaded firearms with her. And just like that, it was over. The detective made an excuse, said he had to use the restroom, and in that single moment, 4 police officers swarmed her table on the back patio. The meeting was done. Tatiana Remley was arrested right there on the spot. But really, to get how we even got to this point, we have to rewind. Because this murder-for-hire plot, it didn't just come out of nowhere. No, it was the explosive finale to a relationship that had been unraveling for months in this really chaotic, violent, and very, very public death spiral. And the speed of this collapse is just staggering. I mean, look at this. In just a little over 2 months, their lives went from assault allegations to a creepy social media post to mysterious house fire, a divorce filing, and then, boom, the arrest. It was a complete and total freefall into chaos. So it seems like the real unraveling kicked off on May 21st. In court filings, Tatiana described this absolutely horrifying scene. She alleged that Mark's friends busted into her locked bedroom and assaulted her while he just stood there and watched. She also claimed he threatened her life and, in this chilling Godfather-style move, left the head of a horse statue in her bed. But Mark's side of the story, it could not be more different. When reporters asked him about these incredibly serious claims, his answer was short and to the point. He said they were completely fabricated. And right there, that sets the stage for this intense he said, she said battle that would basically define their entire public breakup. Just a few weeks later, the chaos ramped up even more. On July 2nd, deputies get a call to the Remleys' $5.3 million estate, and it is just engulfed in flames. The house gets severely damaged, and police find 2 people there, Tatiana and a friend. The aftermath was, let's just say, messy. A furious Mark immediately pointed the finger at Tatiana, accusing her of arson. Now, she denied having anything to do with it, and so far, she hasn't been charged to the fire. But she didn't exactly walk away scot-free. Deputies arrested her at the scene for 2 unrelated firearms charges after they found her with loaded guns that were registered to someone else. And, of course, the financial stakes here were huge. Just 9 days after the fire, Tatiana files for divorce. And get this, she requested $15,000 a month in spousal support. In the filing, she argued this was actually a huge drop from the $50,000 a month she was used to spending. She claimed she needed the money to support herself while supposedly planning to go to medical school. So how in the world did they get to a place where 50 grand a month was just normal spending? Well, to really understand what's happening now, we have to look back at their incredibly lavish past. A story of huge ambition, unbelievable luxury, and in the end, just catastrophic failure. And kind of ironically, their story also starts at a Starbucks. Tatiana, a divorced mom who absolutely loved horses, met Mark Remley, a super charismatic and extremely wealthy guy. I mean, he was a tech heir and a co-founder of a company that sold for hundreds of millions. His fortune was in the tens of millions. They got married back in 2011, and that's when their life together really began. And Mark's money, it funded a life of just unimaginable luxury. We're talking about that massive estate, the $50,000 a month credit card bills, a full staff with bodyguards and assistants, a bunch of sports cars, and, of course, the prized horses with their own $135,000 custom trailer. People who knew them said Mark was just totally smitten with Tatiana and would give her absolutely anything she wanted. And her biggest dream of all was to create this huge equestrian show, something that would be as big as the famous show Cavalia. She named it Valar. And you can just hear the passion in her voice when she talked about it. She said it was her dream come true, a way to bring magic to the world. And Mark, as usual, was ready to write the checks to make it happen. And when I say write the checks, I am not kidding. The couple poured a fortune into Valar. Some reports say the total investment was over a staggering $10 million. They built this giant mobile tent and planned for more than 40 performances. I mean, this was supposed to be a massive production. At the huge opening night party in 2012, this now infamous photo was taken. It shows Tatiana holding a belt that's tied around Mark's neck, literally leading him around the event. And according to the New York Post, this wasn't just some quick photo op. She apparently did this for a big part of the evening, a very public display of the power dynamic in their relationship. But behind the scenes, that dream was already turning into a complete nightmare. Staff later said that Tatiana, for all her passion, just wasn't a very good horse rider. But she and Mark insisted she be the star. This created so much drama that the original director and a ton of the crew just quit. Ticket sales were awful, and after only 4 performances, the Remleys just walked away. They abandoned the show, the performers, and the animals. The collapse of Valar basically set off this financial and personal downward spiral. Mark had to declare bankruptcy. Their next business idea, a fancy cycling studio, failed in less than a year. And with their business ambitions pretty much in ashes, they turned to reality TV, appearing on a Showtime series all about an exclusive sex club. On that show, Mark himself said it. Sex is the center of our universe. What had started as this partnership built on big dreams had kind of morphed into this life of just chasing thrills. A close friend put it pretty bluntly, saying their lifestyle was reckless and toxic. He mentioned prostitutes, strippers, and sex clubs. Now, this kind of chaotic behavior, it didn't just pop up out of thin air. When you start digging into the pasts of both Tatiana and Mark, you find that conflict and controversy seem to have followed them long before their marriage went up in flames. Yeah, a look at their histories paints a really complex picture. Court filings from Tatiana's first marriage have all these allegations about her misusing money and providing an unstable home. And while Mark doesn't have a criminal record, he was sued in a civil case for allegedly punching his ex-wife's writing instructor in a jealous rage. But the allegations about Tatiana's childhood are just, wow. Her ex-husband, Ken Wolcott, claimed in court that she grew up in extreme isolation. His exact words were, essentially, Tatiana was held captive for about 10 years starting from age 9, kept on a rural property with no school and no friends. In all of this history, the failed businesses, the toxic lifestyle, the allegations from the past, it all brings us right back to today and to the final showdown that's about to happen in a court of law. The legal trouble Tatiana Remley is in is extremely serious. For the charge of solicitation of murder, she could get up to 9 years in state prison. The firearms charge adds another year on top of that. She has pleaded not guilty to everything, and so far the court has denied her request for bail. So with all that evidence from the sting operation, what's the defense going to be? Well, it's widely expected that her lawyers will lean heavily on a defense centered around something called battered spouse syndrome. It's a psychological condition where the argument is that a person's actions were a direct result of suffering long-term abuse from their partner. And really, that's the ultimate question here, isn't it? Was Tatiana Remley a cold, calculating mastermind, caught on tape plotting a murder because the money was gone? Or was she a battered spouse, pushed to do something unthinkable by years of alleged abuse and a childhood spent in isolation? That is the question the justice system now has to figure out, and you can bet the community of Del Mar and a lot of other people will be watching very closely as the case of California versus Tatiana Remley unfolds, bringing one final wild chapter to this unbelievable story.